And hello, my good friends, and welcome to another episode, the second episode of A Fair Criticism. My name is Robert Wilkinson, and today I want to talk to you about a topic. I want to have a short conversation. It's a monologue, yes, I get it, but it's a conversation in my own head. I want to talk about the events of the previous week. I consider them to be historical in nature. I consider them to be unprecedented. We are certainly living at a time where the world is shrinking, it's getting smaller, and I think we're getting smarter. I want to talk about an event which will most likely lead to one of the most peaceful periods of time in my life. I want to talk about this thing which will most likely yield prosperity, promise. Yeah, okay. But before I talk about that, I'm going to tell you a story. And there's a reason why I want to tell you this story, because this story I think will help to highlight how how it is that how it is one man can in one turn be both a villain and a victim. And so this is the story I want to share with you. I'm going to try to keep it brief as well. The story takes place in a different time, in a different place, far, far away from my present location, very near towards the place that I was born. And the story is a story about weakness, or weaklings. Maybe that's better. The story doesn't have a hero to speak of. I can't mention a hero. There's no hero to be found in this story. Not one. Not one. I could even be considered a character in this story, as I know and knew the two participants. And so the story goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was a young man who was a conscript in a regiment. He was 19, maybe 20 years old, and as he was a youngster in this setup, in this organization, he was asked to perform a task for someone, for a senior member of the military. The task was done on at the facility in the compound, and his task was for him to move some boxes, items, general inventory from one location in the storeroom to another location in the storeroom. So the storeroom held the supplies for the military, for the soldiers that always needed items. We needed berets, fatigues, tops, bottoms, heavy coats, sleeping bags, and whatnot. So these things had to be constantly maintained. All right, so we're going to call the young man Private Z. So Private Z had been given the orders to tidy up and to move merchandise, or sorry, there's not merchandise, to move these items into different, so restock the shelves really, or just stock the shelves. Quartermaster B had given him this instruction. Quartermaster B, let me put some flesh on this. Quartermaster B was a man who had a reputation of being a man of poor character. You understand what I'm saying? So he had a reputation, a well earned one as well, and I knew him. I know him personally. He was given, yeah, he was given a bad name. He gave himself a bad name. He was not a good person in my eyes. In my opinion, I consider him to be a hypocrite. I mean, there are hypocrites galore, but when you're forced to have to interact with them, you're pretty much between a rock and a hard place. So, our good Private Z had a question Captain B. He asked, Captain B, could you please come here? I need to know what to do with these particular items. And so Captain B went into the storeroom with the young private. And as the young private was providing his question, Captain B situated himself to very close proximity to Z. And as he got close and close and closer, the story as it was relayed by Z is this. This is how he described it. He said, he put his hand down the front of my pants. He put his hand down the man's trousers. Without consent, without invitation, without him even asking, he put his hand down another man's trousers. Now, let me tell you just a little bit about what I know of Z. Z was significantly younger than me, but I knew him because I knew his father and mother. His father and mother both had reputations of being excellent martial artists, well learned as well because they had world championship. They had titles, belts that they had collected. They were well known in the international martial arts community. There's a type of martial arts that is useful, and then there's a type that isn't so much. There's these things called katas or forms, which where all you do is demonstrate how beautifully you can flow and your stance, if it's perfect or whatnot. And there's no actual combat. Now, I at the time had some thoughts that they actually engaged in like full contact martial arts, because this man was considered, his status was as a legend. He was a legend in my community. And I'm talking about the father of Z. The mother as well was said to have been able to defeat any man she came up against. So she as well was considered to be a legend. Well, so what do you think happened? What do you think happened when this young man discovered that there was a man who was willing to violate him in such a way by sticking his hand down his pants? Did he deliver a kick to the shins to bruise him? Did he deliver a kick to his head to bust him open? Did he slap him? Did he admonish him? Was there anything that he did, or any sort of reaction to immediately solve this problem? Because that's a problem. If no one's coming up to me and touching me in such a way, not without a response that will look like violence. None of those things happened. There was no kick, there was no punch, no slap, no elbow given, no knee to the groin, none of that. what he said happened, what the private said, the thing that happened was that you ready for it? He fainted. Yes, he fainted. At no point in time in a man's life that is so inopportune, it is so inopportune for him to faint than if another man has put his hands down his trousers. There's no, there's no fainting to be found. That's a fight, outright. What you would smash a man? Yes, he fainted. So what's this story got to do with last week? Well, last week we saw something magnificent. I think. I am not happy that it involved the deaths of I guess both tyrants and innocents. We saw the United States engage in some militaristic activity with Iran by assassinating General Soleimani, I believe is his name, Soleimani, who was the top general of the top military man for the Iranian army. This man had been credited for many important victories for Iran for many, many years. Trump killed him. He said, enough of this. The Americans had lost a soldier the previous week. So Trump says, I'm not messing about. And he delivered a drone strike. And I don't know how precise it was. Apparently another, a top Iraqi general was also killed in this. So both countries feel hard done by, obviously. And again, I don't champion killing or the taking of lives. I don't. There's for me there truly are no just wars. But the deed was done. The Iranians struck back. They fired back at some very soft and easy targets that the Americans had. Again, invading another land because these targets were based in Iraq. So the Iraqis weren't happy about that, but also the Iranians inadvertently shut down a Ukrainian aircraft, commercial aircraft that was carrying 176 souls, and all of the souls were lost. They perished. So there's some shame now on the heads of the Iranians. After this was done, what did Trump do? After they fired these weapons at the bases, which killed nobody, there were no casualties to speak of, and there was certainly just minimal damage. As my understanding is that these missiles, these rockets, missed the targets that they were launched at, the majority of. Well, what happened next was that Trump gave a speech. Trump said, it looks like they are standing down. He's speaking of the Iranians. They're standing down. He did not call up his generals and say, get the gunboats, get the gunships, get the gun helicopters, he didn't fire lots of missiles at them after they attempted to take out a few American targets. He didn't do that. He says they are willing. It appears that they are standing down, which permitted the United States to stand down. Now, the United States has a healthy appetite for war. That has been established. There's no doubt about it. There's too many carcasses, too many body bags filled with carcasses that were killed with American bullets and bombs. There's no doubt about that they love war. But this president is slightly different. I mean, we've seen after the Jimmy Carter and whatever you may think of him, whether he have been weak or strong in his weakness. He after he was done, we had Reagan, yeah, we had George Herbert Bush, followed by Clinton, followed by Bush, and Bush again, as he had 2 terms, followed by Obama. I count all these men as warmongers, each and every one. Trump, at this point in time, has not started any new military engagements. He hasn't done that. Not yet, and I hope that he doesn't. So when he ran, he said that the United States must end these military adventures, these engagements, these never ending wars. He said, it's my desire to end them, to bring the troops home. So he can be held to that. You know why I can hold him to that? He said, I'm going to build a wall. Now, whether you're in favor of it or not, is irrelevant to me because I'm not American. I'm only speaking about what I see. Because Trump is a man just like me. And just like you or human being is somebody's son, is somebody's father, he's somebody's brother. Donald J. Trump acts like a boss. That's what I'm trying to say here. Not some weakling, not a weakling. He acts, he moves, he talks like a boss without apology. And sure, he makes mistakes. Yeah, he does that. Who doesn't? And sometimes his language is crass. Now imagine, as a man, everything you said you would do. Good things, of course. What would the world look like? I can't find anything bad in what Donald Trump says. People have names attached to him. They call him a racist. I have no evidence of that. Show me something. I know who's a racist. I have my own definition of racism, maybe. And maybe Donald J. Trump just doesn't fit in my set of definitions. But here's the thing. He says something, he means it, he does it. And he's doing it, he's getting it done. This man has strong-armed China. They're ready to sign deals with him. This man has worked with Mexico. He's got new deals with Canada. He's working his way to Britain, which is where I'm located. So this Brexit deal is a big thing. And I hope that our good man Boris, as I have to give him the benefit of the doubt as well, that our good man Boris will learn how to embrace Donald J. Trump. Forget about impeachment, because it hasn't happened at this point. He's been charged. That's what impeachment means. He's been charged with something, but they haven't forwarded the charges. This is like being picked up by the police and them writing up a ticket for you, but not giving it to the judge. Well, what's going to happen? It hasn't happened. So that will leave Donald in a state of limbo for a period of time, and I doubt that we will see it happen. Those articles of impeachment be forwarded this year. But that aside, weakness, weaklings, he is not. Donald J. Trump says that he will be neither a villain nor a victim. He is going to be the hero. The fact is, I would think that he would be at least nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, if not this turn around, maybe towards the end of his second presidency as the world settles down. Remember, he is not the leader of the world, and he should not be that, and he does not wish to be that, so he says. But what he does say is that we have interests. He says America first. I think that's a good thing for America. Why is America concerned about so much of the rest of the world? Donald Trump says he's willing to pull out of the Middle East. Should he? Would he? Could he? So I want to actually juxtapose my idea of Donald Trump and why I think it's so important to listen to him and to believe the stuff that he says, because I'm often told that he's a liar, some 6,000 lies. He tells 300 lies a week or some nonsense like that. Barack Obama came to power, and he had said that there is the number one thing for me. He said the number one thing for me, and he said, you can take this to the bank. He says, take this to the bank. He says, I will shut Guantanamo Bay as my first order of business. That's what he said. Day one. Day one, Guantanamo Bay will be closed. That's what he said. Well, it's not. He did not. He would not. He could not. He's the most powerful man in the world. Did he not have the same facilities and the same faculties of Donald J. Trump? Donald J. Trump does things and he pushes for them. If Donald J. Trump said, I am going to close Guantanamo Bay, believe you me, it gets done. It gets done. Here's what's most curious about this. Donald Trump gets called a liar. Barack Obama is called savior. One's a sinner, one's a saint. You decide. Anyway, my friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of A Fair Criticism. I promise that I'll release something midweek, or at least a lot sooner than that 11-day gap. I want you to hit the subscribe button below. Be sure to hit the like button as well. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free. I'm trying to line something up right now, Signori. So please feel free to ask me questions. Tell me how horrible I am. Call me a treasonous traitor. Do what you must. If you don't like it, make sure you give me the thumbs down. I do expect for you to listen to me, however. I welcome you back in the near future. Anyway, guys, you have a good night. Notice that's a Trump rally. This man is killing it. He's an absolute genius. And I know I said goodbye 5 minutes ago, but it is time for me to go. It's time for me to go. You guys, you take care. Most of all, be good.